Evening everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this is a review of the Zoom G6 guitar multi-effects pedal. We've had a few people sort of talk about the issues with the user interface on this unit. I'm very disappointed with it, and this video is going to basically be about, I'm going to show you in detail what the problems are with this pedal. Don't get us wrong, I love Zoom products. You know, I've loved Zoom since the days of the 505, the G3. I think, you know, the overdriven and distortion tones, you know, they got pretty close to, you know, standalone pedals. I much prefer the tones of Zoom products to something like, you know, Line 6, which is why, you know, I trusted the brand with this multi-effects pedal, but they've really messed up with the UI in the touchscreen. So anyway, this pedal is actually going to get sent back. It's just not usable. This video is I'm going to show you why the UI is not usable unless you're just messing about in the house, or you've already set up the tones and you're just switching between them. But even that's a problem. So yeah, great sounding pedal, but in this video I'm not even going to go through the tones of this pedal, because I don't want you to buy it. That would be a huge mistake. So in this video I'm going to basically explain and run through the issues of this pedal in detail. Okay, so anyway, here we go. First of all, let's get the unit switched on. So yeah, so I mean, first impressions are, you know, you've got what, 6 foot switches and 4 control knobs, which isn't a lot, you know, given the size of the pedal. It is, you know, fairly large pedal. I think they could have just done with just more foot switches or just buttons to get into the navigation. But anyway, I'll get that later. Let's just start at the beginning. Small thing first of all, and this is on most multi-effects pedals now, but you know, having only 6 buttons and having one of those as a tap tempo with, I mean, the hold for the tuner is, you know, is useful, but I don't get much use out of a tap tempo. You know, tap tempo is no good to me, so I don't know why we've got to always have to have a dedicated button for it. But anyway, that's a minor gripe. Where do I start? The next thing is, you know, why does it have, you know, these buttons, foot switches are labeled like this? So for example, in pedalboard mode, it's labeled with effect 1, effect 2, effect 3, effect 4. Why not just do what Line 6 does and just have the coloured sort of halos around the buttons? That would look much cleaner. And you know, when you switch between different modes, I get it, it gives you the different options, but it just seems really cheap. You know, it just lights up different things in a different color, you know, but depending on what mode you're on, which just seems very cheap. Some people have actually complained about the build quality of this pedal, and it is plastic, you know, with metal foot switches. But for me, it's sort of the same build quality as something like a G3, which never broke. So I don't really have an issue with the build quality. It is a light pedal. Something else is, before I get to the actual UI of it, which is the real deal breaker for this pedal. Yes, something else is there's no option for battery power. So before this, I used to do gigs with a Boss ME80, which I could power by batteries, and that, you know, that did about 2 or 3 gigs and a few practices, and it just saves you the hassle of just having to worry about an AC adapter. So yeah, you haven't even got the option of battery power on this unit. Not an option. It does come not a problem. It does come supplied with its own AC adapter, but it would have just been nice to have that battery power option as well, in case something went wrong with the power supply. But anyway, right, small things to start off with before I get to the big things. Yeah, so as I was saying, Don't like this. They could have took a leaf out of Line 6's book and just had the halos. That would have been a lot cleaner, you know, look a lot cleaner looking. Anyway, let's go to this switch here, which is basically your play mode switch. So you've got different play modes. Pedalboard mode, which allows you to switch between switch effects on and off, which is, you know, where you'll be for the most of the time once you've set everything up. Now, what this does is it does solve a problem that Zoom products have had for a while. Last in the G5N, which was basically it didn't let you assign foot switches to pedals, if you see what I mean. So on the Zoom G6, you had to scroll back and forwards. They had scroll buttons to scroll back and forwards between all of the pedals that you had set up, but that caused a problem. So for example, if you had a distortion before your amp and then a delay after your amp, you couldn't switch. And you had, using 4 foot switches, you had to scroll to sort of turn off or turn on the overdrive, and then scroll again to turn off and turn on the delay. So there was a lot of tap dancing. So yeah, so I suppose what the G6 does is solve that issue, whereas you can manually assign the foot switches to anything in there on your patch, which is good. It is good. But you know, staying on pedalboard mode, and this pedal is really sort of one of its main sort of features is you can operate this direct to PA by using something, you know, like amp models. So in this I've got like an MS 800, Marshall 800, Marshall JCM 800, and an IR, which is an impulse response, or basically the next gen of cabinet simulation. But if you've used your amp simulator in your sort of your IR, that takes up quite a lot of processing, you know, DSP processing, and also it takes up quite a lot of sort of spaces in your pedalboard layout. So really, if you're doing it this way and you've used an amp simulator and you've used an IR, you've only got room for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've managed to get 6 in there, 6 more effects in there, but I haven't got space to put a wah because you have to assign a separate effect to a wah. So yeah, you do run out of effects blocks, which is a pain. You know, and for this, you know, I always have the ZNR, the noise reduction. So that takes up an effect block as well. So yeah, on the Boss ME80, you know, stuff like the noise reduction in the wah wasn't even included in the list of effects you could use. You know, they had their own separate blocks, as you were, so you could run more effects off that. So yeah, disappointing in the number of effects that you can run, but also the actual DSP of this unit, if you're running it like this, runs out quite quickly. So say for example, now I've got to get into the menu here, which is a nightmare. You know, if you want to do anything, you have to pull down on the touch screen, which isn't very responsive, and then you've just got a mess of options. Most of the time you would go to edit all, or you can click on the edit here to get into edit mode, which is this is how horrible the UI is. It's awful. So say for example, if I wanted to change, add an effect, actually I'm in the wrong place. I have to come out of here. No, I want to go down again. I want to edit effects. So I'm completely lost. That's how you edit that, but I want to get rid of that. How do I get rid of that? Edit all. Let's click on that. No, I want to delete that. I'm getting confused. How do I delete that? Right, delete effects. Yeah, that's it. Now I'm there. Right, now I've deleted an effect. Now I want to delete the effect. Can I see the problem? Right, so if I want to add this effect in, tap that. Gives us a list of effects. I don't know, let's go for, I'm going to put another modulation effect in there. So anyway, this is another issue that is actually that Zoom have tried to solve. and that's now it tells you how much DSP each effect uses, so that you've got some sort of idea on if you're approaching the max DSP, which I am. And quite, if you're running sort of amp and cab simulations, you're going to hit the DSP limit quite often. So, but at least it does sort of give you a hint of where you are now. But anyway, go for that. I get a flange on the end, it's done. But yeah, you know, I'm getting stressed just doing it. It's just very stressful to operate this unit, and I do, you know, I work in IT, so you know, I work with sort of user interfaces for a living, and this is just frustrating. Anyway, so that's the DSP is an issue. But to be fair, the DSP's always been an issue with Zoom units like this. The G6 has tried to, you know, give you a little bit more information, but I think it's just still a problem. They should just give you more DSP, and they should let you have more effects in a chain. But anyway. So, another massive problem with this pedal is the play mode switch. So, say for example, you're in play mode, you're quite happily playing, and then you want to change banks. You can't just change banks with one switch. You have to cycle through this switch. Oh, hold on, cycle up, maybe go to memory mode, which gives you a list of patches, and then you can flick between the patches. Now, this doesn't work the same way as something like a Line 6 Helix or Pod Go product where you've got scenes. These patches, there is a minor delay when you switch them, so they can't be used really in a live context. You know, you couldn't go from a clean to an overdriven tone in the same song. There would be a little gap, which stands out. So yeah, all this is for is basically switching between different tones, but this is not going to work in the middle of the same song. But anyway, you've got that to switch between patches. It's touchscreen. It's a terrible touchscreen. It's not very responsive. You would do it like that, or you could do it on the foot switches. And then to get back into play mode, you would have to go 1, 2, back to play mode. So, you know, you imagine trying to do it. Whoops, sorry. You imagine trying to do that in the middle of a gig and see how stressed you would get. Yeah. The other play modes, you know, you've got looper, which not something I would really use that much. And you've also got, here we go again. You've also got bank patch mode, which just basically is just a way of just navigating through the various presets. So yeah, I mean, you know, if you're in the house and you're just working on tones, or if you're using this for recording, it's probably not that bad. I mean, as I said, you know, the tones in this unit are great. You know, Zoom modeling has always been great, so no complaints with the sound of this unit. It's just that Zoom they've messed up the UI on this unit, and there's no other way around it. I mean, they have released updates of the firmware so that you can do stuff. I think you can do stuff like if you're in play mode, if you're in effect board mode, you can click on that, and then it'll allow you to get straight in to edit the amp. But that's just a minor fix. At the minute, you know, if you want to edit anything, you have to pull down on that menu and then get into this screen, which is just a mess of options. Oh, it doesn't even look pretty either, does it? It's not a nice UI at all. What else was I going to say? Yeah, I guess everybody that's been complaining about the UI in this unit on YouTube is right. I just wanted to, you know, go through it with you in detail. Haven't actually, you know, used this in anger. You can't use it. You can't. The only way they can use this unit live is if you set up everything beforehand, because it does sound great, and then just pray that you don't have to change anything on the fly. Because this does work nicely, having the 4 foot switchable effects, and have the ability to configure those 4 foot switches. That's better than the G5N. But the G5N is probably, a little bit less stressful to use. It's got more. Just having another, even if it just had an edit button, to click and get in the edit mode, which would be much better than having to drag down every single time on that UI, and then hope the screen tracks your finger, and then get confused about where to go. Edit all does everything. I mean, some people have said, oh, the only option that you need is edit all, and these ones like edit effects are superfluous. I kind of disagree with that a bit. It's, if you go into here and you want to add an effect, you can just shortcut that and get straight into it, but then you're in this screen and I can't add any more effects because it's full. So yeah, you're going to spend quite a lot of your time getting very confused with the UI of this unit. What more is there to say, really? The foot switch is great, but like I say, you need to assign an effect to the foot switch, which you don't have to do on something like a Pod Go or an ME80. That's got its own, patch. No, it's not its own patch. Its own block sort of already there that never gets overwritten. So it's not a problem. But with this unit, it just seems that they've tried to be really clever with the UI and save money on the actual hardware, the buttons, but it hasn't worked. I think you need to have buttons on to edit stuff. It feels a bit cheap, to be honest. It does feel a bit cheap, and it is cheap. It is, you can get these for around £280 these days. They've gone down, but is it better than the G5N? I'm not sure. I definitely don't love it as much as the G3, which was great, and using that as just a modulation delay unit with other pedals. But this thing is a standalone do it all multi effects unit. For recording, possibly, it's got USB out, it's got the IRs, and the IRs are brilliant. I mean, the IRs are definitely a step above the cabinet simulations because I've A/B'd them back to back, and yeah, if you want a realistic amp tone, or as realistic as you can get, use the IRs in the amp modeling. It does sound good, but yeah, like I say, if you do that, you're restricted in the number of effects that you use. Of course, another application of this unit could be just to go directly into your guitar amp. Now, if you did that, and that meant that you weren't using the amp modeling and the IRs, that would probably solve a lot of problems with this unit, because you probably wouldn't run into the DSP limits as early, and you could get away with some pretty exotic effects. I mean, there are some fantastic effects on this unit. The particle reverbs, the tape delay with modulation, great effects, but you can't really use them with many other effects because they take up to 27-30% of the DSP. But they're there, so you are getting value for money. The distortion and overdrive pedals, that modulation, that modeling has always been great on Zoom units and still great here. But it's just the UI. It's having just those 4 parameters to change, having to drag down, having this mode button that you have to cycle through, having these daft, words lit up in different colours, and those words changing, and it's it's a mess. What more can I say? So yeah, if you want a multi-effects pedal, and you want great tones, this will do great tones. If you want something for recording, that'll be great, because you can just set up your tones, get tangled up with the UI and then just get your tones and then record. But if you're using this for a practice gigging situation, it won't work. The UI is too complicated to use. hasn't been thought through. Looks like they've just focused on being clever with the touch screen to the detriment of everything else. Like, actually, it doesn't feel like it's been developed by guitarists. I feel like it's been developed by a company that just wants to make a profit. And what I will say about all these new pedals have got like this sort of touch screen at the minute as well. And the thing is, that's the first thing that's going to break. If you scratch that, or you damage that on this unit, you're screwed. You can't do any editing without the touch screen. So it's just an obvious vulnerable point, and it's a plastic unit as well. Now, it is sort of protected a little bit because it's sort of inset into the panel. But yeah, you'd have to treat it with kid gloves. Yeah, I'm very disappointed with this unit. It's going back. Anybody that's looking at it and was having sort of doubts about the UI and thought, is it that bad? It is that bad. Something like a Line 6 Pod Go looks much easier, but like I say, I would never go for Line 6 because I just prefer the tones of Zoom. So yeah, Zoom, you've let us down with this one. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to drop us a like, subscribe, comment, go for it, appreciated. And I'll see you on the next one. But this is going back. See you later. Bye.